somebody brings me their 7-year-old child and said, I'm not sure my child is normal because he only wants to hang out and play and be with adults. He doesn't like to play with kids. Can you test him? Now, I know there's tests that can be done and people that can test, but I said, I don't do testing, but I would be glad to meet with your son and give you my professional opinion about how well your son is doing or not. 7-year-old boy. He walks into my office, and a little blonde-haired kid, and he walks straight toward me, looking at me, and he goes, oh, hi. You must be Dicken. It's really nice to meet you. How are you doing? I was blown away. He wasn't saying, how you doing?
Yeah.
He was saying, how are you doing? Fully present.
Yeah.
Alive. And I was taken aback. I rarely meet people that present.
Yeah.
And I sat back, Michael, and I go, wow, this is how I'm doing. I was honest with him. This is how I'm doing. He says, so Dicken, what do you do? And I said, well, I like to talk to people and help them realize they have what they need inside of themselves. What do you mean? Like, what do you say to them? And I'm going, okay, this little Buddha, I want to see how he responds to the universal truth of these principles. So I started talking to him like I've been talking to you about the principles. We're connected to the potential for thought and new thought. We're all aware beings. We're all connected to a deeper intelligence. And when we're caught up in thought, we can suffer. When we realize that, we quiet down, learn the benefit of being more fully present and quiet. We feel better. We think better. You know what he says to me? I know exactly what you mean. I say, you do. Tell me. He goes, well, Dicken, sometimes when I don't know what to do, I'll go to my bed and I lie down, and it's like I'm going asleep, but I don't go to sleep. Do you know what I mean? I'm going, Sid, is that you? Are you playing games with me here? It's like, I'm getting goosebumps all over my body. I mean, that's one of the most beautiful descriptions of it's like we can, at times, it's like we're going to sleep, but we relax deeply and we come intensely awake and alive and alert. That's how many of the top Buddhist meditation teachers will talk about what meditation is, or what the monastic field would call contemplative prayer. A quiet, open, receptive mind to something greater coming in. Getting out of the way, getting ego out of the way. So I say to him, because now I'm the student, I'm not kidding. I truly, that's what I love about the principles. We're on equal ground here. And I say, can you say anything more about that? And he goes, well, it's like I fall asleep, but I don't. And at a certain point, Dicken, I always feel better. And as soon as I feel better, I know exactly what to do. I felt like, okay, thank you very much. How much do I owe you for this session? I had a massive insight listening to him say that. So for like 3 weeks after that, I'm walking around in this space of quiet, and anytime I'd start to get a little tense, I'd hear his voice. It's like I'm falling asleep, but I don't fall asleep. At a certain point, I feel better. When I feel better, I know what to do. And that became like the simple understanding of the principles that I carried with me for weeks, and it just kept deepening and deepening. That was Sid. That's what Sid says. He says, all I've ever told people, it's all thought. Look within. Beyond the noise of your thinking, always there's an inner quiet, always, for any human being. And in that quiet, beyond concepts, there's a feeling that's uplifting. And when you're in a quiet mind and a nice feeling, that intelligence will guide you through life perfectly. He says, that's all I've ever told people. It's so simple. He said, I've been telling people that for 30 years now. Everybody gets excited. Nobody looks in that direction or nobody does that. He was joking.
Yeah.
Because no one can think about this and gain that understanding. It's an experiential realization that it is true that I'm sometimes caught up in thought and it creates tension, stress, and upset. It is true that when I fall beyond that thinking, there's a peaceful quiet that's always there. It is true when I step into that space, I start feeling happier for no reason. It is true when my mind is quiet and I'm filled with feeling of that nature, I become a better husband, a better father, a better worker at work. I enjoy more deeply whatever I'm doing. I can bring my best to the occasion. There's less ego and more kindness and service just built into us. So I keep coming back now, Michael, to that simplicity so that the principles don't remain intellectual to me.
If simplicity is of value, why not just stick with, I think you mentioned multiple spiritual traditions that said the same thing in your words?
It was very complicated, and each one had different ideas and beliefs and techniques and theories and practices. But at core of each of those would be the principles.
So it's just the practices and maybe dogma or whatever else that would be, we take that away and the principles is what's left?
That's what's left.
Why three though? Why not just, you said in your book, in page 102, in essence, who you are is the awareness of the dance of life in that context. Why not just say we are pure consciousness? Why make three?
Throughout my understanding of this, my meager understanding, because you're asking why use a trinity to explain ultimate reality, which is inexplainable. That's how I hear that question. And it's been asked for centuries.
That's exactly what I meant, Dicken.
And it's very interesting that all the great spiritual teachers, Jesus, Buddha, in Hinduism, the great realizers, in Sufism, and always talk Trinity. We said, Sid, why don't you just say there's one principle? Because he would say, in truth, there's only one principle. Infinite field of energy, temporary condenses into form. It's the same energy in form, and it goes back into the same energy. It's all one. It's all the same. So my clients would come to see me. They'd say, Dicken, I'm fighting with my wife, and I'm going, it's all one. It's all one. That's truth. There's only one. You're not separate from your wife. You're all. So Sid would say it'd be a very short conversation and people wouldn't get anything out of it. So there are essential qualities to the formless creative energy of life. Let's say the great nothingness, whatever you want to call it, energy, quantum field, silence, the universe, things appear within that field. So it's creative, principle of mind. There's a creative force that knows how to create and operate what it creates as an intelligent, creative force. People have said that for centuries. It's a conscious force. Because as we realize that more, we become more conscious. We start living at a higher level of consciousness. What's a low level of consciousness? You're so blinded by the content of your own thinking, you don't see truth. You don't see life. I was so preoccupied with thinking, I'd come home, here I am, doctorate, psychologist, I come home, I'm preoccupied, my kids are calling me space cadet because I'm so preoccupied, I'm the absent-minded professor. My wife comes over and playfully knocks on my forehead and goes, "Hello, Dicken, are you in there? Are you going to come out tonight and play, or are you going to stay in there all night?" I got a lot of important things to think about. Don't. It's all innocent. It's all innocent.
So is it in a way arbitrary if it's 3 or 4 or 5, because in essence it's one? And then, I mean, if it is a way to try to point to, speak about, share, feel a truth that is beyond grasping, because it is the context in which life happens and not a part of life.
Yeah.
It's all metaphor, right? It's all, no word that we talk today is truth. No.
You can only use metaphor to talk about this. The 3 principles are helpful because they're universal. So I can talk to people about the power of thought creating experience to anybody in the world. I can talk about awareness and how we move in and out of different levels of consciousness, where everybody's experience being really fully present, everybody's experience being caught up and seems dark and small and limited, and everybody's experienced that shift in consciousness.
Yeah.
Everybody can relate that there's some source to life. Even all the agnostics I've worked with believe there's something creating. They don't like concepts of God, which paradoxically is, this teaching helps people move beyond their concepts of anything into a deeper truth.
So are the 3 principles just a really, really good metaphor?
Anything we say about principles, it's like for a huge part of human history, people didn't understand there was an invisible force that helped bring objects together. And somebody has Galileo, apparently sitting under an apple tree, the apple falls. He has an insight about there's a formless force that can explain this. And then he started looking at everything that couldn't be explained in science that can now be explained by understanding gravity. So we can use the word gravity, and it can either be a pointer or it can be a field of energy. So metaphors are trying to point towards something that can be seen or experienced or realized as true.
So are the 3 principles a really good metaphor? Just a really good metaphor? Are they true?
I'm always trying to get people to go beyond their conceptual mind and metaphors, and then you don't even think about the principles. You just live your life. I don't walk around thinking about, oh, I'm in the principle of thought, and now I need to access the principle of consciousness. And no, as Sid would say, just go and enjoy yourself. And if at some point you're not enjoying yourself, if you realize it has something to do with the thoughts you're caught up in, it'll bring you right back to the now where you can start enjoying life again. Don't complicate this. Go have fun. Stop thinking about it. We're at a picnic one time, and we're all talking about the principles, and we're not even seeing nature. We're not even in our bodies. We're in our heads talking about the principles, and Sid turns around and said, "Would you please? It's such a beautiful night. Let's just come back. It was funny. I mean, he had a great sense of humor. He was always teasing us and joking around.